good morning. Welcome to Lake Community Church's morning Bible study. We are in Judges chapter 7. We're going to finish out the chapter verses 15 through 25. The end is fairly long, but it's not really unexpected. It's kind of what God's been preparing Gideon for the whole time. Why? Because Gideon is victorious. And by the way, in your own life, when God puts you in a position where you have to struggle, where there's difficulty, where there's a battle, you're going to be victorious. There's a promise in that, and your struggle of faith is what glorifies God. It's unique to you. It's who you are, and it's the unique position you find yourself in life. And so that struggle is going to be uniquely yours, and your victory is going to be uniquely yours, with God honoring you and your faith, and God glorifying Himself with your faith in your life. And so as it should be. You should have the victory. You should win. You should overcome. And by the way, if he had been a man of faith earlier, and I'm talking about Gideon, he could have really done this with a bunch of his buddies. They could have got together and defeated the army of the Midianites, all the ites that were in the valley. They could have defeated them this way had God given them the chance. But I want you to notice, God didn't put him in that position. Okay, knowing from hindsight that God was going to do that, Gideon could have just acquiesced at the very start, been brave, got his buddies together, and gone out and defeated the enemy as God wanted them defeated. But he didn't do that. Why? Because God had taken him through the process. There has to be a process of growth. And oftentimes we as believers, when we're dealing with other believers, we want them to go through that process of growth in some kind of supernatural way, just to get promoted tomorrow and they figure it out. Well, that's just not how it works. We don't figure it out overnight. We don't figure it out just in the moment. It takes each believer a time. And as a pastor, you want the people that you pastor just to get it and get going and get after it. But the truth is, I know deep down inside, because I've walked that path myself, and I've walked that path with many, many people. Deep down inside, people don't just figure it out in an instant. They may seem like they grow instantaneously, and they do, but usually that's the result of a long process of God working in their heart, and then they take that step of faith, and then God advances them very quickly. They win major victories after major victories, and then before you know it, you're saying, well, look what God did just in the moment. And the truth is that God's been working a long time on them, and He's been working a long time on you. And so when you look around and say, some people get it so easy and I don't, well, probably not. If you look at Gideon on the other side of this battle, you think, well, Gideon got it all of a sudden. Not so much. Not really. He didn't get it all of a sudden, and you don't either. And so it says here, verse 15, that so it was when Gideon heard the story. What? Well, he heard that man say that this is nothing else but the sword of Gideon, the son of Joash, the man of Israel. That's a pretty encouraging dream he heard. When he heard that, when he heard the telling of the dream and the interpretation, that he worshiped God, because he realized that God had already planned out a victory for him that had been planned from the foundation of time, and he was always going to win. It was always going to work for him. And each step of the process was just God leading him down the road to that victory. He returned to the camp of Israel and said, "Arise, for the Lord has delivered the camp of Midian into your hand." And so he's the one now saying what God said. And, that's really a hallmark of a believer that figures it out and gets it. They begin to quote God, and as you should. You should quote God, because once you really believe what He says, well, it becomes a part of who you are. He said, then he divided the 300 men into three companies. So they're going to break up into three groups of 100. And he put a trumpet into every man's hand and an empty pitcher. And the torch is inside the pitcher. So they basically got a pitcher with a torch inside. That's to cover up the light. And then they've got a trumpet. That's what they're going to battle with. A torch, a pitcher, a trumpet. It's not your sound military doctrine going into battle there. That's not that would not be the normal equipment of a soldier, but it is for God, because God, when he does supernatural things, he does it well. He kind of shows off, if you want to know the truth. I mean, when God really shows up, he does show off, and I love that about God. Sometimes you're in the middle of something and you realize, you've been struggling and battling, and then all of a sudden he gives you this huge victory in a way you couldn't imagine it happening, and you just sit there and think, now, God, you just showing off. And he is, because he says, my mercies are new every morning. He's got new things for you. He's got new things for you. And so when he's got new things for you, you ought to enjoy it. You ought to chase after it. He said to them, look at me and do likewise. Watch, when I come to the edge of the camp, you shall do as I do. He says, when I blow the trumpet, and I and all who are with me, then you also blow the trumpets, every side of the whole camp, and say, the sword of the Lord and of Gideon. And that's an interesting way to put it, isn't it? And so he's given God top billing. But I'm telling you, that dream really fired him up. That dream pushed him over the edge. You just never know what will push somebody over the edge of trusting God. You just never know what ends up really getting into somebody's heart and then figuring it out. And that dream apparently did it. It wasn't the angel of the Lord meeting him at the wine press. It wasn't. I mean, now I'm telling you, that's a pretty neat sign with the fleece and the water. With the dew on the fleece, and then dew on the ground around it, and no dew on the fleece. That's a pretty neat dream. And then God takes him through this whole process of paring down his men, 22,000, 10,300. I mean, he's dropping them, precipitously, as it were. He's dropping those men all over the place. And then now they're going to go the sword of the Lord and of Gideon. And it really is. So Gideon and 100 men who were with him came to the outpost of the camp. And at the beginning of the middle watch, this is kind of about 3 a.m, just as they posted the watch, and they blew the trumpets and broke the pitchers who were in their hands. And then the three companies blew the trumpets and broke the pitchers, and they held the torches in the left hand and the trumpets in the right hand and blowing. So they break the pitchers, huge crash. You've got trumpets blowing. You've got all these torches all around the camp. It appears to the Midianites and the Amorites and the Amalekites and all those ites, it appears that they're surrounded, that there's a huge army, that there's a great battle clash that's already taken place. If you're in the middle of the camp, you're thinking there's many already in battle and we're already surrounded and defeated. It causes what's known as a rout. And a rout is where the enemy just turns and runs. But the problem is they're surrounded, so they turn to run to figure out where to fight. And it says that when the three companies blew their trumpets and broke the pitchers, they held their torches high. They cried, the sword of the Lord and of Gideon. And every man stood in his place all around the camp, and the whole army ran and cried out and fled. It's called a rout. And when the 300 blew the trumpets, the Lord set every man's sword against his companion. What happens? They start fighting themselves. That's an interesting way for God to do it, isn't it? They start fighting themselves. The Gideon, no, they don't have a sword. They don't have knives. They don't have, there's no bow and arrows out there, okay? They have none of it. Torch, horn, pitcher. Pitcher's already busted, so now all they got's the torch and the horn. And how does God win this victory? Well, he causes them to kill themselves. Unique way to win, God. that's you just showing out. I mean, you're just showing off, God. That's what you're doing. And you know what? We got a God who can show off. When the 300 blew the trumpet, the Lord set every man's sword against his companion throughout the whole camp. And the army fled to Beth Achaia towards Zererah. And it really is Zererah. There's two R's, Zererah. As far as the border of Abel Maholath, and then by Tabbath. So they kill each other, and those who don't kill each other, they rout, they run away. And the men of Israel gathered together from Naphtali and Asher and Manasseh and pursued the Midianites. Now everybody joins in. The people who went away because they were afraid, the people who were sent away because they drank the water wrong or right, as it were. And then Gideon sent messengers throughout all the mountains of Ephraim, saying, "Come down against the Midianites and seize them from the watering places as far as Beth Barah and the Jordan." Then all the men of Ephraim gathered together and seized the watering places as far as Beth Barah and Jordan. Why? Because they have to have drink if they're going to run a long, long way. And so they seize all the places. And as the Midianites search for water as they're trying to escape, they're killing them. And they captured two princes of the Midianites, Oreb and Zeb. They killed Oreb at the rock of Oreb, and Zeb they killed at the winepress of Zeb. Notice they named those places after these princes that they captured and killed. So it's kind of a trophy of victory. They pursued Midian and brought the heads of Oreb and Zeb to Gideon on the other side of the Jordan. What a great victory! What a unique victory in history, and what a wonderful God that Gideon serves. And let me say this: God gives Gideon second billing. One of the cool things about God is God plans everything. He designs everything. He prepares you for everything. He calls you to everything. Then he wins the victory in everything that he does. And then he lets you be a part of it when he didn't have to. When he really, really didn't have to. He lets you have some of the credit. And the truth is, you really didn't do a whole lot other than trust him. And that makes him such a personal God for us. He gives us great, great victory and gives us great, great presents. He's a good, good father. He gives great gifts to us. And then he lets us enjoy it as if it were ours. May God bless you and keep you. May make his face to shine upon you. May give you hope and peace today in Jesus' name.